If you are viewing this video as part of your initial education about Medicare, I recommend that you first view my videos explaining Parts A and B in that order. I find Parts A and B relatively easy to understand. Part D, which is prescription coverage, on the other hand, can be very confusing. So learn the easy stuff before you tackle the difficult. If you are familiar with Parts A and B and believe you don't need to view my videos on A and B, but you're confused about Part D, just focus on this video. Part D, especially the donut hole, is the most difficult part of Medicare to understand. I'm going to break this discussion into two videos. The first will explain Part D without the donut hole. The second video will deal exclusively with the donut hole. You'll understand why when you see the second video. As you view this video, it's okay from time to time, if you pause, to consider what was just discussed to make certain that you understand it. Confusion begets confusion. Once confusion sets in, you're done. I believe this process will minimize your confusion. Part D coverage is available in two ways. Number one, a standalone Part D plan, or number two, Part D coverage included in a Medicare Advantage Plan. MAPD is what we call that. Medicare rules stipulate that you can be enrolled in only one Part D plan at a time, so you cannot combine plans to reduce cost. The primary difference between a standalone Part D plan versus Part D coverage included in an MAPD is a standalone Part D plan will have a monthly premium, whereas there is no premium for Part D included in an MAPD. All Part D coverage will consist of several stages. Stage 1 is called the deductible stage if your plan has a deductible. Stage 2 is called the initial coverage stage. Stage 3 is called the coverage gap, most commonly known as the donut hole. Stage 4 is called the catastrophic coverage stage. If your plan has a deductible, during Stage 1, you will pay all of the cost of each drug you purchase. The maximum deductible allowable for Stage 1 in 2022 is $480. Your plan will clearly state if it includes a deductible and the amount of the deductible. Medicare allows each plan to establish its own deductible as long as it does not exceed the maximum. Frequently, you'll find plans set deductibles far below the maximum. Most plans that include a deductible will carve out generic drugs and not apply those costs to the deductible to encourage you to use generics instead of brand name drugs. When you have met the deductible, you move into Stage 2, which is the initial coverage stage. All of the copayments I mentioned in each stage are for 30-day quantity. Copayments for larger quantities may be higher. In the initial coverage stage, you will pay a set copayment, which is a dollar amount, or a percentage of the cost of each drug. The copayment you will pay is determined by the category of medications the prescription falls into. These categories are called tiers. A Part D plan may have as few as 3 tiers or as many as 5. The number of tiers depends on whether a plan has 2 tiers for generic drugs and or 2 tiers for brand name drugs. This will make more sense to you in just a moment. When the total cost of all prescriptions in 2022 reaches $4,430, you move into the coverage gap stage, which is the donut hole. Please remember that total cost of your share of the prescription, which is your copayment, plus the additional amount your plan pays for the prescription is what adds up to reach the donut hole. It is very important to point out that most seniors do not reach the donut hole. Because I have recorded a separate video to explain the donut hole, I will skip that now and move on to the catastrophic stage. In the catastrophic stage, your share of each prescription will be the greater of 5% of the total cost of the drug, or $3.95 for generic drugs and $9.85 for brand name drugs. Very few seniors enter the catastrophic stage. If you do, this stage will end on December 31st, and you will return to Stage 1 on January 1st. The lowest cost prescriptions are classified as Tier 1 generics. This will always be the least costly drugs. Generic drugs are your best defense against reaching the donut hole. Co-payments for this tier are very small, frequently zero. Recall that I mentioned that some plans have 2 tiers for generic drugs. If this is the case, the plan will have a minimum of 4 tiers, 2 for generic, 1 for brand, and 1 for specialty drugs. The next category of prescriptions are classified as Tier 2, which typically begins brand name drugs. Drugs in this category are much more costly than Tier 1 and are likely to cause you to enter the donut hole at some time during the year. Co-payments for brand name drugs are much higher than generic drugs. Again, some plans may have 2 tiers for brand name drugs. If that is the case, the number of tiers in the plan will increase. The most costly category of prescriptions are classified as Tier 3 or specialty drugs. This category consists of very expensive drugs that are highly likely to cause you to enter the donut hole. Your share of these drugs is likely to be a percentage, usually 1/3 of the cost of the drug. Medicare requires every Part D plan to publish a detailed list of all prescriptions covered by the plan. This list of covered prescriptions is known as a formulary or list of covered drugs. It is extremely important that you examine the plan's list of covered drugs to make certain each of the prescriptions you purchase are included in that list. If a prescription that you take is not listed, it is not covered. Obviously, this is a very important part of your decision as to which is the best Part D plan for you. Having explained Part D plans many times, I know how confused you may be at this point. If you're comfortable that you're clear on the information in the recap, move on to the next subject. If you still have questions, I invite you to email me. I'll do my best to clear things up. If you find my video helpful, please click the like button. Or if you'd like, make a comment. I'd appreciate hearing from you.